The vision of aging often portrayed in society suggests a gradual, inevitable decline of mental faculties. Yet a different reality exists where the mind remains a clear and vibrant vessel for the spirit well into the later decades. This potential for sustained cognitive brilliance depends less on genetic luck and more on the conscious alignment of daily choices with the intention of vitality. A pervasive obstacle to this clarity is the modern reliance on beverages that promise hydration or pleasure, but silently erode the neurological foundations of memory and focus. These liquid disruptors are frequently consumed without a second thought, embedded in routines that prioritize convenience over the sanctity of the physical form. By examining the biological and energetic impact of these common drinks, the individual can reclaim the power to nurture the brain rather than diminish it. This exploration offers a pathway to identify and replace these insidious habits, guided by the understanding that the body is the temple that houses the infinite self. The deceptive sweetness of processed sugars, the consumption of beverages laden with high fructose corn syrup and refined sugars represents a profound disruption to the body's natural harmony and its ability to maintain cognitive sharpness. When a person ingests a sugary soda or a commercially sweetened tea, the body experiences a rapid surge in blood glucose that demands an immediate and aggressive insulin response. This physiological spike is not merely a metabolic event, but a systemic shock that creates inflammation throughout the vascular system, including the delicate networks supplying blood to the brain. Over time, the repeated exposure to these sugar floods can lead to a state of insulin resistance, a condition where the brain cells effectively starve because they can no longer absorb the glucose they need for energy. This starvation mechanism is directly linked to the shrinking of the hippocampus, the area of the brain responsible for forming and retaining new memories. The biological machinery intended to support learning and recall becomes clogged and sluggish, mirroring a lack of flow in one's energetic life. Dyer often spoke of the body as a manifestation of the invisible spirit, a sacred vessel that requires respect and intentional care to function at its highest potential. From this perspective, pouring processed sugar into the system is akin to polluting a pristine river. It clouds the clarity of the water and disrupts the natural ecosystem. The choice to consume these beverages often stems from a disconnection from the self, a momentary lapse where immediate sensory gratification overrides the deeper desire for long-term well-being. It reflects a forgetting of one's own worthiness, treating the body as a dumping ground rather than a sanctuary of life. True vitality requires a shift in perception where the individual views every substance entering the body as a building block for their future reality. When the intention changes from seeking a fleeting sugar high to nurturing the divine instrument of the body, the appeal of these toxic beverages begins to diminish naturally. Consider a common scenario where a person finishes a meal and immediately reaches for a cold, sweet soda to wash it down, driven by a habit formed over decades. In this moment, the digestive system is already working to process food, and the introduction of liquid sugar creates a fermentation effect and an immediate spike in energy, followed by a heavy crash. The person might feel a temporary lift in mood, but within an hour, a brain fog settles in, making it difficult to recall names or focus on complex tasks. This cycle of spike and crash becomes the normal state of existence, and the individual begins to accept mental lethargy as a natural consequence of aging rather than a direct result of their dietary choices. The beverage acts as a barrier between the person and their true cognitive potential, creating a haze that obscures the vibrancy of the present moment. It is in these small, unconscious moments that the memory is slowly eroded, not by a sudden trauma, but by the accumulation of daily insults to the system. It is important to acknowledge that the transition away from these beverages is challenging because the body and brain have likely adapted to the chemical hooks of sugar. The craving for sweetness is a primal signal, originally intended to guide ancestors towards safe energy sources like fruit, but it has been hijacked by modern industrial formulations. There are times when a person may feel an overwhelming urge for that specific taste, especially during periods of emotional stress or fatigue. However, recognizing this urge as a biological signal rather than a command allows the individual to pause and choose a different response. This pause is the space where intention resides. Instead of reacting automatically, the person can choose hydration that supports life, such as water infused with natural fruit or herbal teas that offer flavor without the metabolic assault. This shift is not about deprivation, but about aligning actions with the desire for a lucid and energetic mind. The damage caused by chronic sugar consumption is silent because it does not manifest as immediate pain, but rather accumulates as subtle cognitive deficits that are easy to ignore until they become severe. The inflammation caused by sugar damages the blood-brain barrier, allowing toxins to enter the brain and further exacerbate memory loss and confusion. This process of glycation, where sugar molecules bind to proteins and fats, literally stiffens the tissues of the brain, reducing its plasticity and ability to adapt to new information. A rigid brain, much like a rigid mindset, struggles to grow and evolve. The path to longevity and memory preservation involves keeping the physical structures of the brain soft, pliable, and receptive. By eliminating liquid sugar, the individual reduces this inflammatory burden, allowing the brain's natural repair mechanisms to engage and restore function. There are exceptions where natural sugars found in whole forms do not carry the same risk, as the fiber in fruit mediates the absorption of glucose. However, the isolated sugars in beverages lack this protective matrix, delivering a concentrated blow that the body is ill-equipped to handle. The distinction lies in the integrity of the food source. Whole foods carry the intelligence of nature, while processed drinks are stripped of their holistic context. Understanding this difference is crucial for anyone seeking to maintain memory and vitality in their later years. It is a move away from artificiality and toward authenticity in diet, reflecting a deeper commitment to living an authentic life. When the physical inputs are pure, the mental output becomes clearer, fostering a state of being where memory serves as a reliable bridge between the past and the present. The journey to eliminate these drinks is ultimately a journey of self-love and the recognition that the body deserves to be fueled by substances that enhance its connection to the source of life. It is about refusing to settle for a diluted experience of reality caused by a clouded mind. As the fog of sugar addiction lifts, the individual often reports a surprising return of mental acuity and a stabilization of mood. This clarity is the natural state of a human being, waiting to be uncovered once the interference is removed. Every time a person chooses water or a nourishing tea over a sugary soda, they're casting a vote for their own longevity and declaring their intention to remain awake and aware. What am I feeding my body that dulls my mind? The illusion of safety in artificial sweeteners many individuals, in an attempt to avoid the calories and blood sugar spikes of regular soda, turn to diet beverages sweetened with artificial compounds like aspartame, sucralose, or saccharin. These drinks are marketed as a healthy alternative, a way to enjoy the sensation of sweetness without the metabolic cost. Yet this promise is a deception that confuses the body's ancient regulatory systems. When the tongue tastes sweetness, the brain anticipates a rush of calories and signals the pancreas to release insulin in preparation for a glucose load that never arrives. This metabolic mismatch creates a state of confusion within the neuroendocrine system, leading to increased cravings for real sugar and a dysregulation of appetite control centers in the brain. The brain, expecting energy, perceives a deficit when none is provided, often triggering a stress response that releases cortisol, a hormone known to be detrimental to memory when chronically elevated. The disruption extends deep into the gut microbiome, the complex community of bacteria that plays a critical role in producing neurotransmitters essential for brain health, including serotonin and dopamine. Artificial sweeteners have been shown to alter the composition of these gut bacteria, promoting strains that are associated with glucose intolerance and inflammation. Since the gut and the brain are connected by the vagus nerve, any disturbance in the digestive tract sends distress signals directly to the brain, contributing to anxiety, mood instability, and cognitive fog. Wayne Dyer emphasized the importance of authenticity and truth in all aspects of life, and consuming chemicals that trick the body is a form of physiological dishonesty. Relying on these synthetic substitutes creates a disconnect between the sensory experience and the nutritional reality, mirroring a life lived out of alignment with one's true nature. To nurture the memory, one must feed the body with substances that are honest and recognizable to its biological intelligence. A reflective person might notice that despite switching to diet sodas years ago, they still struggle with weight management and mental clarity, unaware that the drink itself is perpetuating the cycle. In a typical scenario, an individual might start their day with a Diet Cola, believing they're making a responsible choice that allows them to indulge elsewhere. This drink accompanies them through the morning, providing a chemical sweetness that never truly satisfies the brain's reward centers. Consequently, by the afternoon, the person experiences a hollow hunger and a scattering of focus, leading to distracted interactions and forgetfulness. The chemical aftertaste of a sweetener becomes a constant background sensation, a reminder of the artificiality that has been introduced into the inner environment. This habit keeps the palate accustomed to hypersweetness, making natural foods like berries or apples taste bland by comparison, further distancing the individual from the healing power of whole foods. While the marketing of these products relies on the fear of weight gain, the reality is that they may contribute to the very metabolic dysfunction they claim to prevent, which in turn accelerates brain aging. The neurotoxicity of certain artificial sweeteners has been a subject of debate, but the potential for excitotoxicity, where neurons are overstimulated to the point of damage, remains a concern for the aging brain. This overstimulation can interfere with the calm, steady transmission of nerve impulses required for memory consolidation. A mind that is constantly agitated by chemical excitotoxins struggles to find the stillness necessary for deep reflection and recall. It is difficult to maintain a peaceful, meditative state of mind when the biological substrate is being irritated by synthetic compounds. The choice to avoid these chemicals is a choice to protect the tranquility of the inner world. There's a prevalent belief that because these products are approved by regulatory agencies, they are safe for unlimited consumption, but safety standards often do not account for the cumulative effects of daily intake over decades. The threshold for toxicity in a 60-year-old brain may be significantly lower than in a younger one, as the aging body has less resilience to clear metabolic byproducts. Furthermore, the reliance on diet drinks often displaces water consumption, leading to chronic low-level dehydration. Even mild dehydration can shrink brain tissue and impair short-term memory, attention, and psychomotor skills. The combination of chemical exposure and dehydration creates a perfect storm for cognitive decline. It is a subtle erosion day by day that compromises the structural integrity of the brain. The transition away from artificial sweeteners involves resetting the palate and rediscovering the subtle, complex flavors of natural foods. It requires a willingness to let go of the need for constant high-intensity sweetness and to appreciate the refreshing neutrality of water or the earthy notes of herbal infusions. This process is similar to stripping away the illusions of the ego to find the authentic self. It is a return to simplicity. As the chemical fog lifts, the gut microbiome begins to heal, restoring the production of neuroprotective compounds and calming the inflammatory signals sent to the brain. The individual may find that their memory becomes sharper not because they added a supplement, but because they removed a daily toxicant. To live with intention is to be conscious of the inputs that shape one's reality, including the chemical inputs that shape biology. The artificiality of diet drinks is incompatible with a life of holistic wellness and spiritual alignment. By choosing natural beverages, the person honors the wisdom of the body and supports the delicate machinery of memory. This choice sends a powerful message to the subconscious that the individual values truth over convenient illusions. It is a step toward a more integrated, coherent existence where the body supports the mind's highest functions. Why do I seek sweetness that offers no nourishment? The numbing effect of routine alcohol consumption. The habit of consuming alcohol daily, often viewed as a harmless way to unwind or socialize, carries significant implications for the aging brain that go far beyond the occasional hangover. Alcohol is a neurotoxin that directly affects the central nervous system, and its impact is magnified as the body ages and becomes less efficient at metabolizing toxins. The primary mechanism of damage involves the shrinkage of the frontal lobes, the area of the brain responsible for executive function, decision-making, and long-term memory. Additionally, routine alcohol intake depletes the body of thiamine, vitamin B1, a nutrient that is absolutely critical for the health of brain cells and the transmission of nerve signals. Without adequate thiamine, the brain cannot metabolize glucose effectively, leading to a specific type of brain damage that impairs the ability to form new memories. This creates a disconnect in the continuity of one's life narrative, as gaps in recall begin to appear more frequently. From the perspective of spiritual alignment and intention, alcohol serves as a depressant that lowers the vibrational frequency of the individual, dulling the sharpness of consciousness. Dyer often discussed the importance of being fully awake and aware to connect with the source of intention, and alcohol acts as a veil that obscures this connection. While it may provide a temporary escape from stress or anxiety, it does so by numbing the senses and dampening the awareness of the present moment. This numbing effect prevents the individual from fully processing emotions and experiences, leading to a backlog of unresolved psychological material that can clutter the mind. A clear memory relies on a clear consciousness. When the mind is routinely sedated, it loses its edge and its ability to vividly record the richness of life. The pursuit of higher awareness is hindered when the physical vessel is chemically suppressed. Consider the routine of the nightcap, a drink consumed in the evening to help induce sleep. The individual may fall asleep faster, but the quality of that sleep is severely compromised. Alcohol disrupts the architecture of sleep, specifically suppressing REM, rapid eye movement, sleep, which is the phase where the brain consolidates memories and processes emotions from the day. The person wakes up feeling unrefreshed, with a fragmented memory of the previous day's events and a reduced capacity to learn new information. Over years, this chronic sleep disruption accumulates, leading to a persistent state of cognitive fatigue. The applied scenario here is the person who believes they are resting but is actually preventing their brain from performing its essential nightly maintenance. They may find themselves repeating stories, forgetting appointments, or struggling to find words, all symptoms of a brain denied its restorative cycles. There is often a counterargument that moderate alcohol consumption, particularly of red wine, is beneficial for heart health due to antioxidants like resveratrol. While there may be some cardiovascular benefits, the neurotoxic effects on the brain and the disruption of sleep architecture often outweigh these potential gains, especially in the context of memory preservation for those over 60. The trade-off is rarely in favor of the brain. Furthermore, the liver's ability to filter alcohol diminishes with age, meaning that a drink consumed at 60 has a more potent and longer-lasting negative effect than the same drink consumed at 30. The toxic metabolites of alcohol circulate in the blood for longer, causing extended inflammation in neural tissues. The social conditioning around alcohol is strong, linking it to celebration, relaxation, and connection. However, true connection comes from a place of presence, not chemically induced disinhibition. Breaking the cycle of daily drinking involves finding new rituals for relaxation that do not compromise cognitive health, such as meditation, gentle movement, or deep conversation. It requires the courage to face the evening hours with a clear mind, without the crutch of a sedative. This shift allows the natural chemistry of the brain to rebalance, restoring the production of neurotransmitters that regulate mood and focus naturally. As the brain heals from the toxic effects of alcohol, the individual often experiences a profound improvement in clarity and a reawakening of their intellectual vitality. The silent sabotage of memory by alcohol is often dismissed as senior moments, but it is a direct physiological consequence of a specific habit. By removing this depressant, the individual removes a major barrier to cognitive longevity. The brain is remarkably plastic and can recover function when the toxic assault ceases. This recovery is a testament to the resilience of life when given the proper conditions. It is an act of reclaiming one's power from a substance that offers a false sense of peace while stealing the clarity of the mind. The choice to abstain or significantly reduce alcohol intake is a declaration that one values their mental acuity more than a fleeting sense of relaxation. It is a commitment to experiencing life in high definition, with all its nuances and details sharp and clear. This decision aligns with the intention to live a life of purpose and awareness, ensuring that the wisdom accumulated over a lifetime remains accessible and vibrant. The clear mind is a conduit for spirit, and protecting it is a sacred duty to oneself. What am I trying to numb that needs to be felt? The false energy of stimulant overload. The modern world often demands a pace of life that exceeds the natural energy reserves of the body, leading many to rely on energy drinks and excessive caffeine to bridge the gap. These beverages, often packed with massive doses of caffeine, taurine, and other stimulants, promise instant vitality and focus. However, the energy they provide is a loan, not a gift, and it comes with a high interest rate paid by the adrenal glands and the brain. Mechanistically, caffeine works by blocking adenosine receptors in the brain. Adenosine is the chemical that signals fatigue. By masking it, the stimulant prevents the brain from realizing how tired it actually is. This does not remove the need for rest. It merely suppresses the signal, allowing the individual to push through exhaustion until the system eventually crashes. This cycle of artificial stimulation and inevitable exhaustion places the body in a chronic state of fight or flight, flooding the system with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. High levels of cortisol are notoriously damaging to the hippocampus, the memory center of the brain. Chronic stress, whether emotional or chemically induced by stimulants, creates a toxic environment for neurons, inhibiting neurogenesis, the birth of new brain cells, and weakening existing neural connections. The individual relying on energy drinks to get through the day is inadvertently bathing their brain in a corrosive chemical soup that degrades memory function over time. Dyer taught that true power comes from alignment with the source, a limitless reservoir of energy that does not require external force or chemical manipulation. The reliance on stimulants is a symptom of disconnection from this internal power, a belief that one is separate and limited, needing artificial boosters to survive. Imagine an individual who starts the day with a large coffee, follows it with an energy drink mid-morning, and another in the afternoon to combat the slump. They feel a buzzing, jittery energy that they mistake for productivity, but their attention is fragmented, and their anxiety levels are subtly elevated. They may speak quickly and move fast, but their ability to retain information and listen deeply is compromised. This person is running on fumes, pushing the engine of their body into the red zone day after day. The crash that follows is often met with more caffeine or sugar, perpetuating a cycle of dependency. This borrowed energy leaves the brain depleted, unable to perform the complex consolidation tasks required for long-term memory storage. The person feels wired but tired, a state that is antithetical to the calm, clear focus needed for deep cognitive work. There is a place for moderate caffeine consumption, such as a morning cup of tea or coffee, which can offer mild neuroprotective benefits. The danger lies in the excess and the highly concentrated synthetic forms found in energy drinks. These beverages often contain a cocktail of ingredients that have not been studied for their long-term combined effects on the aging brain. The extreme spikes in blood pressure and heart rate associated with these drinks also pose a risk to cerebrovascular health, increasing the likelihood of microstrokes or reduced blood flow to critical brain regions. The illusion of invincibility provided by the stimulant wears off, leaving the body more depleted than before. Conclusion: the journey to preserving memory and vitality is not about fighting against the aging process, but about flowing with the natural rhythms of life and removing the obstacles that hinder the body's innate intelligence. Sugary sodas, Artificial sweeteners, excessive alcohol, and potent stimulants act as dams in the river of well-being, blocking the flow of energy and nutrients to the brain. By consciously choosing to eliminate these silently sabotaging drinks, the individual aligns with the power of intention, treating their body with the reverence it deserves. This is not a restrictive diet, but an expansive choice to embrace clarity, presence, and authentic energy. Replacing these habits with hydration that honors the body, pure water, herbal teas, and nutrient-dense vegetable juices signals a profound shift in self-respect. It is an affirmation that the mind is a precious instrument capable of growth and insight at any age. The result is a memory that serves as a faithful library of a life well lived, rather than a crumbling archive. As the chemical noise quiets, the true voice of the spirit can be heard, and the golden years become a time of lucid wisdom and vibrant connection. The power to protect the mind lies in the simple, daily decision of what to pour into the vessel. Where do I trade my peace for a false sense of power?